Good morning, everyone. What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Let me take a second here and send this link to everyone so everyone has been alerted that we're getting started here for our live session here in New York. All right, let me get that out to the. Hey, good to see you, Jack. Good morning, David. Glad you were all here ready for today's show. Starting it off with some Mike. Shane, good to see you, Michael. TJ. All right. I'll give everyone a couple of minutes. I don't want to start. Jesse, what's going on? Will, what's going on? I don't want to get so quick into this morning without everyone giving a chance to get in here. It's going to lay back a second, have another sip of this morning coffee and charts. I still remember like it's yesterday or today. When I first got into trading, I remember Saturday mornings always with a cup of coffee. Back then, it was even magazines that you would need to lean on and just reading and learning as much as I could about the markets, going over the charts themselves when you have more time on a Saturday, really enjoying that first thing in the morning. There's nothing like it. Amazing. Malaysia, good to see you. I mean, Tesla's not too exciting right now. Either you're long it or you're not. But yeah, we could look at Tesla later in the show. Later in the show, after we go ahead and we first start with, we're going to take a look at what's happening on the S&P. We're going to take a look at what happened overnight on the S&P. Then we're going to take a look at what's going on with the current markets this morning. The dollar looks like it's getting ready to possibly take a run at breaking out of this head and shoulders. It's this resistance here at 97.40 we're watching. At the same time, if the dollar's not able to go ahead and get above that resistance here, right? If it breaks below this trend line now, you could see here's the head and shoulders. Let me come down to the 4-hour with you. Let me see over here. You could see the head and shoulders pretty clearly. And now price is coming up and it's testing this resistance at 97.40 that it needs to break above in order to probably put in a big leg here. That should put further pressure on the equity markets if that happens, because right now in this moment they're all trading very tightly correlated. So I would expect that would happen. So if we doesn't and then we get below this horizontal support over here coming in around 97, which at the same time will be a break of that trend line, at that point you got to consider the market is just pulled back into some strong resistance and is resuming out of it. It would be a failed head and shoulders, and that might take us back towards testing and or breaking the recent low we put in over here. So watch as price is now starting to make some higher highs over here. If it could continue that and push up, break above this resistance and put another leg up, that's what we're watching for. That's what we're watching for over there on the dollar. The S&P 500, you can see that it is under pressure, right? Not too much though, right? This is a very small consolidation back towards the lower end of this range right now. We were watching this triangle yesterday. For the next move, and it was down. You could see we broke to the downside. Here on the 30-minute, you could see how clean it was. The breakdown, the retest, and then the resumption down. But then over here, you got a real retest of the area. This is classic. Here was the break, and over here, you could see the retest and then the rejection over here. And that right there is a nice little trade. But you could see that price is, first of all, so far this morning, it is putting in a higher low on the 30-minute, on this little swing over here intraday. And you can see this little bit of, of local support it's basing in at right now. So right now, the market looks to me like it's putting in this little bit of a bull flag, right? That could be a breakout to the upside over here as you're coming in now over here to this area. I know everyone is very bearish. When I say everyone, I'm just talking about other retail traders. They're very bearish right now. They expect the next couple or few days we're going to see some further breakdown on the markets, and why that could happen, especially here if the dollar is able to break out over here and put some pressure on the equity markets, then maybe we get to see a nicer pullback over here into some pretty big support. Maybe even maybe it's the 33 level, or maybe even lower between the 29.72 and 29.47. That's all a possibility, but that's not it's a little bit too soon to say that's going to happen. The first indication will be if you get the break here on the dollar, then expect some further downside here, perhaps on the equity markets. But at the same time, be aware of the upside, because this looks good. I see this nice consolidation pattern. So far, the pullback is very muted, and this thing over here on the at least on the higher time frame looks like it has the potential here to continue breaking up towards the upside and maybe even testing around the 3,200 number or higher. So I'm not I'm completely open to what happens. I'm completely open to what happens. And when I say what happens, I mean I could see I'm neutral, and I see opportunity perhaps developing on both sides. We'll continue monitoring that right now. We'll continue. See, it's another good look on the 1 hour. You could see this channel is very orderly so far. And as long as you're holding this area over here, right, a breakout above is going to set up perhaps another leg up on the bull side. This towards the bottom half of this consolidation pattern might be the place, if you resume off it, to go ahead and try the long side. The momentum's to the upside still. But keep an eye on the dollar. Dollar breaks out, then all of a sudden, then expect some further downside. Expect a negative resolution to the downside out of this consolidation over here. So, good morning, everyone. Mr. K, big shout out, everyone over here. Big shout out. Yep. So yeah, it's hard to say whether whether or not quadruple witching is going to be net negative or positive. There's talk of a large amount of selling coming from pension funds. I think it's $72 billion. That's a significant amount of money, but that seems to be pretty orderly, and people know that it's coming, so not such a big deal. Let's see what the markets do over here, because watching ultimately how the markets react is the most important. Speaking of which, we're seeing the pound under pressure today. I saw a headline that the Bank of England came in actually. I thought they were actually going to. It was a little more hawkish than expected. I thought they were going to raise the amount of QE. They came in instead, I believe, in line, and you're seeing the pound sell off pretty strongly because of it. So that's why ultimately it only matters what the market does. And that's why we were talking about earlier this morning as well. Good morning from Long Island. I am a native as well. So by the way, pound is under pressure. So it's not so much what you think is going to happen because of the news event. What's important is to watch how price reacts depending on whatever the news event was. Let's see if there's any opportunity developing, or that ship has sailed here on the pound. I know that, a couple of traders I know inside the CTM group took advantage of the pound US dollar and the pound Swiss franc. It wasn't really even on my radar, but let's take a look at it right now. Let's see over here on the pound US dollar. Yeah, I mean, my entry's all the way up here with his yellow line. I didn't take this entry, but that's where I would be looking for the trade. And now we're coming back down into an area of support. I think it's dependent on the dollar here and what the dollar does, whether or not the dollar is rejected in this area again. And if the dollar can't make it up here, right, and then starts breaking down to the downside, that's a resumption of a downtrend on the dollar in the near term. So what else is going on the pound? Pound is basically getting wrecked versus everything. Here is the pound Japanese yen. Also coming into an area of support right here, though, right now. So anyone managing a trade, this is the difference in trading. There are a couple of traders in these trades over here right now. There are a couple of traders in these. I'm not. If you and you could just see over here as you came into the resistance, the entry for me for my type of trading is all the way up here, right? So this was an easy manage past this first area of support. Price never even started making a higher high off of it. You could see that price never came up and made a higher high. So it was an easy hold down to this next level of support we're coming into right now. But you could see that we're coming down pretty hard and fast, right? Now, when support levels sometimes break, they really break with authority. So if you're holding this trade right here, as you come into the support, you want to start being aware this is 2 supports away now, right? This might be a good place to take a little off the table as you come into the support. And then if you start resuming off of it, you probably want to exit the full trade because you're now coming down into an area of support. You're 2 levels past entry. You want to watch how price reacts. And also, if price never starts resuming up, sometimes as you come into the support level, you get a clean, hard break, right? That's the ones that makes it easy to hold. That's what you're looking for. Don't always have a lot of traders taking this trade over here, just take their profit into the first area of support. You're never going to make a living doing that because you need to be able to manage and win in trades. There was never even an indication of this thing slowing down, right? The momentum was just always straight down. It makes it very easy to hold. Don't give up on the good trades too quickly. So we are about 15 minutes or so into the U.S. equity markets opening. I'm watching very carefully right now. That's why you're going to see me coming back to the pound U.S. dollar often, is because I'm watching very clearly what New York is going to do with the dollar. It's at a very important level where it could break up from here, or if it comes off further, then it should see further pressure. It's a very important pair to watch this morning. Bitcoin this morning still maintaining its consolidation. Still consolidation. And it's getting ready for a big move. Of course, at this point, I hope it's to the upside. But listen, look where we are right now consolidating. If this does break down, if we lose the 91, which we've held a couple of times recently, if we do lose that, I'm looking for 85 and back towards 82, which will be this horizontal support coming in just a little bit below that, and this trend line support over there. So long as we stay above these 2 levels, this trend line, the further we go, then we get above 82 and the 85 becomes more important. But as long as we stay above this trend line over here, this is uber bullish here for Bitcoin consolidating, getting ready to very soon break out till its bull market phase. When I say very soon, I mean it should be happening between now and within the next 6 weeks. I'm not trying to put any type of time frame on it. It could happen today. It could happen 6 weeks from now. I expect that we break out above 10,400 sometime in the next 6 weeks. Listen, Jordan, this is a good question. Jordan's asking whether or not the jobs data had any effect pre-market. Just a little, depending on the time frame you're watching, or maybe a little bit of volatility. But the market's not really keying in so much on these type of news releases just yet. It's not causing any type of trend changes that are tradable. And if you actually are watching them, you're caught up. You're trading off of a lot of noise on a lower time frame, and you're not really getting a good look at the market. ATC, what's going on, everybody? If you guys notice, Kevin, there's a video on the channel that was just uploaded yesterday, last night on the S&P 500. It's the most recently published video to the channel. And in the beginning of that video, it answers what exactly quadruple witching is and how it's going to affect the markets tomorrow. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, I will be definitely much more aware that I need to go ahead and read out the numbers of the levels of the support and resistance and trend lines, as it can be difficult to see. Thanks for the reminder of that for sure. So Bitcoin, again, that's my look at Bitcoin. What's going on here with gold and silver today? Look, this is our consolidation here, similar to Bitcoin, consolidating towards the high. Similar to Bitcoin, precious metals. And here we go. Silver looks attractive. Looks attractive as you're into this area right now because your risk reward, you're wrong, right? And your risk to reward just going back in towards the top of the channel is really solid. I don't know. We'll see whether or not gold and silver and Bitcoin are able to break out to the upside in the coming weeks. My bet is on Bitcoin more so than the precious metals, but the precious metals look good. Look good. We talked about this yesterday as gold is holding above this area of support. The support is coming in at 1723. And as long as it's maintaining, consolidating above there, if it resumes off, that might be the place to take the entry coming up towards the top of this channel and perhaps getting ready to break out. I'd rather wait for the breakout or even consider, as you see silver is towards the bottom of its channel, consolidating, maybe look over towards silver. But gold looking good here. Gold looking good here. And as long as it stays above the 1670 support line, the bottom portion of this channel, it does continue to look very technically very bullish. Precious metals, Bitcoin might be on the verge of breaking out. S&P, what's it going to do? I don't know. Again, this looks pretty bullish to me, this price action we're seeing, right? My eye is on the dollar today. If the dollar is able to break the 97.40 level, this reverse head and shoulders to the upside, I think we see some further dollar strength that might put some near-term pressure on the equity markets over here, probably taking us down to an area of high interest where we would be looking to actually take some buy and build in some buy side positions. Markets continue to look very good and healthy, even though a lot of people are starting to become bearish because it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Obviously, we could look around and see that the economy is suffering and that you know what? And you talk about these zombie corporations that the Fed is keeping alive, but guess what? Those aren't going to go under tomorrow. That could go on for quite a long time. The music seems to always be able to play, and it could be a long time before all of this reality actually becomes a reality, right? So what I'm getting at is just follow what's going on here in the markets. There's no reason to be bearish yet. If this does roll over and this does start taking a run down towards the March lows, well, we'll be very prepared for it. But we're not seeing any signal right now. We're not seeing any signal right now that that's happening or setting up to happen. And if you look over here, like when the markets were coming down hard and fast, don't forget that's when we leaned in to buy because we were at some nice area of support, right? So breaking first of all below this trend line over here to the downside, that would be our first indication that we're going to see a bigger move, a bigger correction, and whether or not it would end up somewhere around 2762 into this area over here of support, or maybe even further down to 2633 or towards the lows. That will all be figured out at the time. Right now, this is looking pretty good over here. This is looking quite bullish. So we'll see. We'll see whether or not this is just a very small consolidation, possible bull flag and a breakout testing the 3200 area, or we see a deeper pullback where we become interested. Right now, I'm more interested in FX. I'm more interested on dollar pairs, and I see the yen pairs moving. I want to see what's going on with them. It's easy to see the downside. The downside happens hard and quick. So when it's happening, it's not going to happen without a narrative shift in the news. Right now, we're not seeing any bankruptcies that are affecting the credit markets here, that are affecting us. Right now, there's no indication technically whatsoever of anything breaking down where we should be really alarmed and or selling. Actually, this is quite bullish. We need to trade it as such. We just got to trade what's happening and not what everyone, I think everyone knows. I think everyone knows that as far as the economy goes, I remain pretty bearish, right? And I do expect a test of the March lows. I do. But I'm not going to, right now, I'm just going to trade it as it is. And this looks quite bullish. And we'll continue just looking at the market, seeing as it is. And then we'll take it from there. What else is going on? There's a lot left to look at as we're just getting started over here. We have about 10 minutes to the U.S. equities markets. Again, the big story for me is watching what happens here on the dollar. Yeah, so we're looking at, what are we looking at? $1.8 trillion of options expiring tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't think it's going to affect the markets really too much one way or another. It's more of a headline, right? You could expect some possible volatility, right? But there's no one, the volatility really shouldn't shake out or concern anyone over here. We're not looking to day trade and just, follow the momentum of the market where that type of possible whiplash would get us, into multiple bad trades. It's not, I don't even think it's an issue, right? And if it is, it's all going to show up technically, right? What I think is an issue here right now is the dollar breaking out to the upside. That could put some further near-term pressure. What the level to watch if we break out over here, though, is the 98.30. I'm going to make it a little bit stronger. It's the 98.30 resistance level, which is a big one. It was a big area to break to the downside. It's what set off this big move. And also this area over here, this trend line, which during the whole consolidation phase was providing support. That's the area we need to watch if we're able to break out here past 97.40. That's where this move then comes to the next big area. What happens if it's rejected over there or if it breaks back in? If it breaks back in, we see further dollar strength. I imagine it runs into some issues over here and that holds as rejected. That is where I personally then will be looking to take positions perhaps against the dollar, right? Unless it breaks above. That's where we are. That's where we are right now. Let's see what happens. We are about 7 minutes to the U.S. equity markets open. By the way, this is just perfection. This is just perfection. Seeing the break and then the retest, right? And now there's really no edge. So stay away. All right. What else we got going on over here today? Let's take a look at what's going on with the euro US dollar, which is, you could see, pressures on it breaking below this level. This is 97.40 on the DXY. If that level breaks, we're going to see a bigger move over here. You could see this also possibly looks like a rising wedge pattern, right? This could have a conclusion where it breaks out to the upside. And if it does, then we have the possibility of taking out this 5-year trend line right there. If we start breaking out of it, I'll highlight that trend line for you and bring it to your attention. If we break out and up from there, then this could see, we would be looking at possibly trading up as high as 1.16. But right now the pressure's on. This could be a deeper pullback. That's what we're looking for over here. Australian dollar, US dollar. Well, I have to say, this pullback over here looks a little bit more orderly. Now we all know, I don't need to really say it. We're seeing what happens on the dollar. That's what we're looking at, a dollar pair. It's kind of relevant and important. A further impulse of strength on the dollar, right? This is the area that becomes interesting. This is that trend line. This is that trend line that we're watching. So any pullbacks into this area, this becomes a very interesting longer term swing trade. That's a nice area to buy off of. If this holds and the Australian dollar, US dollar, right? If the dollar is rejected here at 97.40 and the dollar recoils and retraces, Australian dollar, US dollar might be the pair to play to the upside. It has been the risk on barometer. We're still seeing, for whatever reason, with everything that's going on in the markets, we're still seeing a pretty strong risk on environment. Now that could all change It's a big day today for US dollar pairs. Yeah, Miguel, one of the best things, by the way, about FX Choice is their customer service and support. Over the years, and I've been with them for several, I've had to use their live chat pretty frequently, and not frequently, but enough. And they're always, it's one of the best supports for any service I've ever used in my life. Boom. Okay, so let's go. Let's take a look at what else is happening in the market. I want to continue with some US dollar pairs before we look into other. By the way, speaking of, here is the US dollar Mexican peso, and it is resuming off of this area of support that we were looking at together yesterday. It is now making higher highs, giving an entry signal for those who are taking it. And what else is there to say? Let me step back for a second and remove this little bit of noise so that you can see what happened. You can see, Asia is obviously avoided. We avoid the Asian market, and you can see that price during London came back in and tested lower, tested this area of support we were looking for price to see how it reacted off, and then since has come up and is now making higher highs. So we'll see what happens. Again, the US dollar Mexican peso, we look as uber correlated to the S&P 500. S&P 500 is on the verge of perhaps putting in a little bit of a move down into support. That would send the US dollar Mexican peso probably up towards the 23.315 level. And that is also, once again, dependent on what's over here as the dollar, perhaps this session sometime in the next 2 hours is going to be able to take a look at 97.40, and we'll see if we get the breakout or if we're rejected, and then we're going to have a sharp focus back towards 97. The 97 level, the support down there, that break of that trend line, that would set up a further resumption of the weak dollar back towards its trend. Hey Ben, that's awesome to hear. Definitely glad that you're here with us. Definitely glad that you're learning. Listen though, Ben, and anyone, if you learned something, if you're enjoying the live stream, just go ahead and hit that like button. Don't even hit it. Smash the like button. Smash the like button as you get live on the channel, because it shows me that you appreciate what's going on over here. It actually gives me a little bit of boost, wanting to just dig deeper in and give you more. Sets us off in a good mood and definitely helps support the channel. So nice to hear. George, we'll take a look at Tesla, Amazon, maybe some other stocks as well, but not until we finish our session. You see, trading equities, right? Equities are for what? For long-term investments, right? Are you looking here? What's a better market to trade? Currency pairs or equity markets? By a large margin, it's not even comparable. It's much easier trading FX. It's much easier trading FX on the 8-hour time frame. You're able to get some nice clean trades. It trades technically beautiful. The market, it's just a better way to go about it. So you should probably open up a demo account with some type of FX broker, and then start hanging out over here, learning how the currency markets work. It's gonna pay off for you. So here we are now, right here, getting ready for the U.S. equity markets open. Let's see if we get some volatility here now over the next 20 minutes. Mart, Forex Live is a great little site that gives like a RS feed of news. You could follow that. It's a good one. Yeah, Jason. So that's something that a lot of traders go through. 100%. Listen, if I think the best thing to do is, as you're spending time here, is first kind of learn what's going on. You're going to learn a lot. Anyone of any level is going to be able to learn a lot. As I do every day. But Jason, if you're serious about progressing as a trader, 100% you want to work with me in my course. 100%. All right, let's keep going over here. We looked at the US dollar, Mexican peso. What about the US dollar, Canadian dollar? You could see here holding this area of support now, also trying to resume off of it. It could give a signal today. That's for sure. But not right now. US dollar, Mexican peso seems to be leading to the upside. I want to check out a few more US dollar pairs, including the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and the US dollar, Japanese yen. And I'm seeing, right, uptrend starting in March. I'm seeing now a pullback. It looks very good. Again, if we resume out to the upside, you're going to see the Australian dollar, US dollar, New Zealand dollar, US dollar probably challenging their high over here from back in June and let's early last week, and see if it's able then to go ahead and break above any downside pullbacks against the dollar. I think you're going to have the best. Probably the Euro US dollar is the place to be. Probably the Euro US dollar is the place to be to the downside. US dollar, Japanese yen continue their little dance. It's not really the pair to be focused on right now, right? This was an opportunity when we got in this area over here, looking for a nice trade above the break of the trend line. We were caught into the big line in the sand at 109.71 and rejected by 109.71. But now we're back into this little bit of a, it's consolidating and there's no edge. Just stay away. Go where there's opportunity, and there's so much opportunity in the FX markets every day. Speaking of which, a lot of people were able to go ahead and take advantage of the pound. Last night, I wasn't at all. I was happy to see that people riding some good trades over here. But again, watch what's happening as we've come into that area of support. This is how you manage a trade. Right? We spoke about that earlier in the live stream. Did you take a little bit of piece off here? There's no indication yet to take anything off, and you've pushed it past one, not to the second support level. You want to watch how price reacts over there. Keep your eye on the dollar. See what happens. We have our two levels on the dollar that kind of give us a clear indication of what's next. We're going to start doing another live stream during the week, but it is only for those that are member of the Conquering the Markets program. And it's going to be a live stream where I get to spend more time with you instead of going over everything so quickly, but be able to go over things slower, spending more time on just a few different pairs, as we won't be doing our analysis, and we could talk about more specifics as far as what we're looking for, how we're getting ourselves into trades, where we're placing our stop losses depending on what's happening. And then we could look, and take any questions that anyone has. I haven't decided what day of the week it's going to be, but it will be one day, and it will be directly after our live session, probably sometime in the morning, and we'll be able to do that live together, and also record it for anyone who missed it. Yeah, that's really going to be really helpful. All right, let's keep going over here. I was trying to buy some time because I'm waiting for the markets to kind of open over here and see what they're going to do next. But I want to look for opportunity. Nice, Skylar, Sammy, awesome. That's going to be something I'm excited about. It was brought up in the CTM group yesterday, and I'm all about it. So it's just a question of figuring out when the first one's going to be, which will be, well, I'll tell you right now, I think it's going to be on Tuesday of next week. I'll make an announcement to everyone. Boom, boom, boom. Let's start looking at some pairs and see what we can find. The market seems to be in a holding pattern. We saw that going on yesterday. The main thing to watch today is whether or not we get the breakout or breakdown of the dollar. Obviously, it looks like it's attempting for the breakout to the upside. If it is rejected, we break outside of that trend line, then I'm in the camp of further dollar weakness. And that is a good hint here because that will mean that the S&P and our equity markets are breaking out to the upside over here. That would be a good move, one that would probably I want to take advantage of. Someone wanted to look at Tesla. Let's just peek in really quick. And, so two things that I just want to say, because Tesla you're not really swing trading the equity markets, right? Swing trader, it's a longer time frame. But anyway, over here, right? This is the last I spoke about Tesla, and I said two things. Breaking outside of this trend line was the time to take profits on longs. I said it's the time to take profits. And then if you break back above this resistance, which it was resistance at the time, at that point, we could go on to make new all-time highs. And that's where you wanted to get long, right? Do you see why you want to take profits over here? Do you see why you want to take profits? The first indication was right there. This is where you take profits. Getting neutral here was the right thing to do. And then if we came back down here, you look for another long. At the same time, I said, if we break above that area right there, pull back into that area and test it, that's where we get long. That's where you get long. And I said, we were probably looking all the time. That's what we are. What do you do now? Nothing. What could you do? What can you do? Do you want to be looking to sell Tesla right here? Not if you're holding it, as it's trading right near all-time highs. It's not giving any indication if it's breaking down or anything close to it. Your stop loss is probably somewhere under here, right? Giving this trade room to continue to go. If it starts breaking down or gives any indication that it's time to take profit, well, we'll be looking at it, right? And we'll figure it out. You could extend. Could you extend this trend line over here up, right? Extend that trend line up. And when that breaks here to the downside, well, maybe that's time for you to take profit on that long. But aside from that, it's not really in play. Someone else wanted to look at Amazon. And Amazon is very similar to Tesla, right? You're either holding along up here or you're doing nothing. If you're holding along, you're not looking to take profit because there's no indication that you want to take profit yet. And, there's no, you don't sell this. You don't pick tops. You're going to sell Amazon when it's trading all the way at 26.47, right? If you see the indices start breaking down, if you see the NASDAQ start selling off, well then, go ahead and sell the NASDAQ. But, you don't try to pick the top on Amazon. Boom, 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 boom. Jason, brother. Oh my goodness. What do you say about that? Where's Jason? Nope, that's it on the individual stocks, because guess what? The stocks don't offer opportunity that Forex offers. It just doesn't offer the same opportunity. If you're caught up in the stock market, you have to think about, you're in a very inefficient market that's highly manipulated. You'd be much better off trading Forex. It's much easier to do. You could see and spot and trade the trends much easier. Walter, man, Jason Waters, peace, brother. See you later. Jason is a bot. Jason's gone. Anyway, let's keep going over here. What is going on? We are not seeing much at all happening. We're seeing the markets kind of muted. 10 minutes since the U.S. equity markets opened. Could that be the whole session? Maybe. I have no idea. It's too soon to tell. We're on the verge of possibly a big move happening here on the dollar, watching to where we consider that it failed. That is the best thing I see going on in the morning. Yeah. This is a good question. Maybe it's on other people's minds. I will be streaming live every day, Monday through Friday, the same way we do every morning and have since we started this in late October. Lemmy, there's no plans whatsoever to change, or stop streaming every Monday as we go over the markets together. That will continue. As well as, our afternoon look at the markets, getting into the macro. that video uploaded, usually by 5 o'clock p.m. will also continue 100%. But there are a lot of people who work directly with me in the training program with the mentoring, and for those people, I will be adding another live stream once a week, and that's more of not a live stream. That's more of a training session. That's more of spending time slow instead of just going through the markets, doing our analysis, doing my analysis, finding out what opportunities out there, but more really getting into specifics of trading, helping people make some really important improvements so that they can continue moving forward. It's really important. Thanks, Model 3. I do appreciate it so much. I definitely appreciate the shout out, the support, the positivity. I like surrounding myself around people that have that growth mindset. It's really good for me. Urson, you have to be a part of the program. There's a link below in the description as far as joining my course and program. All right, let's keep going over here. I want to start from the top maybe so I could get into a flow. Let's check out the Australian dollar Swiss franc. Right? You could see not really breaking out too much. Right? Is that line? Does it need to be readjusted? Is it okay if I readjust my trend line? Yeah, it's just a guide, right? It's just a guide to see what's happening. Am I looking here as we come into any area or regain this support, break above this trend line, perhaps to go long? Yes, I'm leaning that way. If we have another impulse downwards, I don't see the markets going risk off right now. The markets have really right now shaken off what probably could have been the biggest worry, and that was a resurgence of the virus in China. The markets so far are kind of shaking that off, and what that means is the market expects it will be controlled. It's not going to have that much of an effect, and the economy is going to keep going. You're seeing that a little in the U.S. too. You're seeing that a little bit in the U.S. too. You're seeing a lot of economic activity actually pick up. It's happened a lot quicker than most people thought. That's not a move to fade. That's not a move to fade. When risk off is coming into the markets, it will be clear to us. That's not the theme right now. So I'm not, even if we have another leg down, that's going to be an opportunity to lean into buy until things change. Until things change. You can see right now, dollar having a little bit of problem. S&P coming back up. Again, watch the upside. Watch a breakout here to the upside. For me, how we place the buy, I'm not concerned with the quadruple witching tomorrow. And I'm not concerned that everyone has turned very bearish here on the S&P. The economy is bearish, but it's kind of rebounding a little quicker than we thought. Yeah, there are very real and logical concerns, including that the employment numbers probably will never return, that we've seen an enormous hit to the middle class, pushing people further into greater inequality because of the institution of the Federal Reserve and the dollar debt-based banking system. However, that why it could be coming to an end one day in our lifetimes is not happening today. The music must go on. All right, what do we got else going on over here? I hope that answered your question. I hope that really answered your question. But we will be continuing with our live streams as always, and that won't happen. If anyone did notice, though, however, yesterday I went ahead and I started, as I said I would, sharing ideas and updates in the afternoon on what is happening. And if you're not following me on TradingView, it's a good thing to do to get those updates, or at least be in the Telegram group where I post those updates to alert you. Both links are in the description below. I hope you all found that helpful. If you do, go ahead and smash those like buttons just to show me that you guys want me to continue doing that. Otherwise, if there's no desire, then there's no desire on my part. That's all. Yeah, awesome. You got it. Thanks for the feedback. As long as I know they're useful, I'll keep them coming. I just need to talk. I don't like to talk about stocks. We all know that. But, Thomas is asking whether or not Square is a good company. Maybe you saw my ticker for Square in my watch list. Oh, you can't see my watch list. You didn't see that. I have to be honest. I fully support Square in that they are a Bitcoin centric company. A large portion of their earnings last quarter, or 50% of their earnings last quarter, and people were concerned because of the POS and the retail mom and pop places whether or not Square was going to have a good quarter. But half of their earnings came from the sale of Bitcoin. We're about to enter a bull market, an 18-month bull market, more or less, in Bitcoin. That's going to continue the further adoption and speculation in Bitcoin. Square's earnings are going to continue to rise, and in a big way, proportionately with the growth of Bitcoin. Jack Dorsey has basically put the success of this public company on the back of Bitcoin. And I remain a big believer and liker of Square. All right. Boom, 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 boom. Slango, I trade equities but want to move on to Forex. Been subscribed for about a month. Don't only do it, Slango. Do it and work with me in the trading program. 100%, that's the way to do it. You'll see progress continuing to follow these live streams and channel because obviously you see the value that you're getting at. But if you want to go ahead and work harder, make quicker progress, that's the thing to do. All right, what's going on? Let's check in and back towards the dollar, continuing over here, continuing to push towards the top. Markets are muted otherwise. I want to see what's going on across the board. So before I do that, because I just want another couple of minutes. Before I do that, if there's any FX pair that anyone's looking at right now that wants to take a look at, let me know. Thank you, Wes. Thank you for that feedback. Let me know. Yeah, the Nasdaq. People are worried that it's trading right now. Overextended back towards the high of since it's put in June, and they feel like it can't go any higher. They feel like right now is the time it's going to roll over and sell. I mean, it looks pretty healthy. It's not giving any indication whatsoever of rolling over, right? We were able to find and look for this impulse down that happened. Not seeing that right now. Not seeing that right now at all. Australian dollar, US dollar, Mexican peso. We did look at that one already, right? That is triggering a buy signal over here. I'm going to look at the Australian dollar, US dollar, but just real quick, US dollar, Mexican peso, and US dollar, Canadian dollar, both pulled back into this area of support and are now showing signs that they're resuming off of it to the upside. Let's check out the Australian dollar, US dollar. Australian dollar, US dollar is consolidating pretty well in this move over here. Again, I'm more inclined here actually to be buying off of support if it resumes off of. But I'm so focused in on the dollar, on the DXY, and watching as it happens coming out of this inverse head and shoulders. And also then you're seeing that head and shoulders on the Euro US dollar. Euro US dollar seems a lot more interesting right now. If we do get this next move, that's where we're going to see a nice move on the against the euro. But if we do see that move against the dollar and we get a chance to look at further supports, I'll be looking to buy them. I don't see any risk off in the market where I want to trade against the Australian dollar. Not yet. I mean, we could change our minds very quickly, right? We do that from day to day or week to week. But right now, that's not what I'm seeing. Carlo, Google or check out Oanda FX Trade in Canada. Phenomenal broker. Definitely would check them out. JC, absolutely. I love it. I'm learning so much every day. I love all of yours. I love all of your insight and really just the the community, the interaction. If the DXY breaks upward, is the Japanese yen likely to strengthen as well? I think the US dollar would strengthen versus the Japanese yen, unless we see the dollar move seems to be technical right now. It doesn't seem to be off of any type of risk off move. The dollar is not being bid or on the verge of being bid because of any risk off into the markets. I don't really necessarily see the Japanese yen coming into play, but the Japanese yen is the strongest into this session. Again, it's probably technical. We could look at some Japanese yen pairs next. I want to see what's going on over there, but we're not seeing any type of fear of the resurgence of the COVID virus across the world, which deaths are now approaching. What are they approaching? Maybe 450,000. We're seeing cases at an all-time high globally, but we're not seeing a resurgence in Europe. I think that's showing that it's probably pretty seasonal. I think that the concern of COVID is going to come when there's a resurgence of a second wave sometime in the fall. That's not happening right now, and the market is seeming to shake that off. It's not really concerned about that. No. So Australian dollar, Japanese yen, let's take a look at that. Does it seem like it's getting ready to make a move upwards? Well, not yet. Not yet. It looks like it's consolidating. It looks pretty. Like, you could extend this trend line over here, and you could see the market is still respecting that and showing that, right? So we did take a poke above here, a higher high over here, and now we're back down. The next higher high on that might be an indication. You have a clear signal if you break down below that trend line. At that point, you could expect a further and deeper pullback. But longer term perspective, unless things all of a sudden start changing. JC, I'm not sure about the individual. I haven't heard anything about the won whatsoever. Anything at all. I haven't heard JC, but great comment. Over here, though, on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, if we do break this trend line, at that point, it becomes technically less as bullish, and we'll wait for a pullback. But again, I think we're gonna see higher highs here. The market's not showing any indication yet that it is breaking down. We're seeing right now maybe even the S&P and dollar both go in bid here. That would be interesting. That's what we saw back towards the early in the year in both January and February. We would see periods of both the dollar bid and the equity markets. So there's not too much to get excited about right now. Hey, Model 3 Life, enjoy it. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, Charles, that's a really good comment over there, because it's under control. The market's not freaking out about it because it's completely under control. They were really aware of who was infected and able to keep them isolated pretty quickly. Someone wanted to comment about WTI crude oil. Look at crude over here. If it breaks above this trend line, it looks like we're gonna put in another leg up. That also looks to me like a little bit of a also inverse head and shoulders, like you're seeing on the dollar. So that's interesting, right? It's interesting. That's a nice little pattern developing up here to watch. That becomes pretty tradable. So that's interesting. That's good. Yeah, they did blame that on the smoked salmon from Europe, right? But it is another strain. That's hysterical, and I thought of that the same way. But actually, it's a strain that came out of Europe. That part is true. If that came off of smoked salmon that was shipped, and even though it was on ice, for that amount of time that it was, it must have been a few days, and it was able to spread like that, that's a little bit alarming. That's a little bit. COVID is not under control. Markets are, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens in the fall. whether or not it really gets out of control. If it starts affecting Europe again, Spain and Italy, and we start seeing a rise of cases, that's when the market will start freaking out. That will be the first indication that the market is going to really start pricing in the fear of COVID. We're not seeing risk off right now. We're just seeing a technical move, and so far it's slow and orderly. If we get the pop here, right, we could see a bigger move with dollar strength. I think the euro US dollar is going to be one of the beneficiaries from that. You will see also, of course, you will see pressure on all US dollar pairs. And then we need to look, the next thing we're going to look at whether or not, as we get into this, assuming we get the breakout and we get into this area, whether or not that is where we start trading against the dollar, right? Because there, if we're proven wrong, then we're just going to see further dollar strength. It's an interesting. I can't wait to see the debate versus Brent Johnson of Santiago Capital, and I believe her name is. I forgot her name. I pointed it out yesterday in the live stream. When that's available, I'll let everyone know. It's going to be on Real Vision. Those are two people who really have a really a nice conversation about both the bull case for the dollar and the bear case for the dollar, because that is one of the most important questions right now, is what happens next with the dollar? What happens next with the dollar? So a lot of people are talking about we are going to be seeing a big depreciation that's going to last multiple years against the dollar. I'm not really in that camp, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, Lynn, thank you so much, Rue Larson. It is Lynn Alden, and she adds a lot of interesting discussion. And she's worth following on Twitter. I follow her. I like to read all of the information she puts out. Whether or not I'm in her camp or not, that's not why I follow her and read her. It's to learn and be aware of the other side. All right, here we go. Dollar right now on the verge. What is the S&P doing? So I'll kind of step back on the S&P. You can see that instead of being focused on like the 30-minute time frame or the 1 hour, or you all remember when even things were volatile enough where we got to follow that on the 15-minute every morning. I'm watching and waiting for price to consolidate. You see that hanging out with that deeper perspective, it keeps you from really having to get are we going up? Are we going down? Oh, it moved 5 points, right? And we get just the bigger, clearer picture. Price consolidating. We're waiting for that next move. It's not happening right now. We were able to walk ourselves through this move yesterday pretty clearly. And now this move, when I say this move, I'm looking at this triangle we were in. Right? We knew if we broke down or up what the next move would be. And now we can see it has become this bull flag, this channel we're in. And we're in the middle of the channel. There's no edge right way, one way or another. But, what's going to be the trigger for that? I don't know. Maybe it'll be tomorrow's session. We could have a volatile session. Just waiting and watching. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, Jordan, I feel the market kind of waiting and watching. Lemmy's also seeing the bull flag. But I would love a breakout here during the U.S. session. That would be kind of nice to see. Could be a descending triangle with the wicks. Do appreciate the immense amount of love in here today. The over 500 likes with 1,000 people. That's quite a high proportion. So really stoked about that. Tomorrow is Friday. London the Friday of London makes for a great session. Especially if Friday turns into a trend day, which it often does during New York, and that could lead up to some nice profits to be had. So there's a bull flag in BTC. I'm not getting off the mic right now or anytime soon, but I'm still in that more of a laid back wait and see mode. We're going to see what happens over the next hour over here. Bull flag, I mean, it looks really positive. To me, it looks really positive. To me, we'll see. We'll see. What will be really interesting? What will be really interesting to see what happens if the dollar breaks out over here. Does the S&P and U.S. equity markets, does that put pressure on the markets? Or do they also rise? If we start getting the dollar rising with the S&P then starting also to rise, that would be a really bullish signal for me. That would be a really bullish signal for me. So let's keep an eye on if we get this breakout over here to what happens with the S&P at the same time. So we'll be aware. I know that they're right now inversely correlated. We've seen a weak dollar and we've been seeing the U.S. equity markets rise. Let's see if that breaks right now. Boom, 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 boom. Peter, have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day out there. Thanks for spending the time over here with us. Do you know the turtle soup pattern? No, I am not familiar with the turtle soup pattern. You let me, of all people, know how I focus in, right? Trading price off support and resistance with the help of trend lines. And also, hey, why not? The true trend. Now, I want to be clear to everyone why I love the true trend and think it's a fantastic tool. I don't rely on the true trend. I use it as an aid. I rely off price. I rely off price, support, and resistance. Yeah, it's JC. We've seen plenty of periods also where gold and the dollar were rising. Therefore, Bitcoin could do it too. When I say plenty of periods, if you go back this year, right over here, you could see this is the last week of December. Gold trading just below $1,500, and then went on to trade all the way up to $1,700 in the 2.5 month period. At that same time, what did the dollar do? At that same exact time, you have the US dollar was trading at 96.54, and that whole time was also rising, right? What did Bitcoin do during that time? Bitcoin also trading down at $7,000 went on to trade up towards 10,000. So you had this period where you had gold rising, you had the S&P rising, you had Bitcoin rising, and you had the US dollar rising. Interesting, right? But that's what happened. That's what was happening for a 2.5 month period. You had the equity markets rising, with the US dollar rising, with gold rising, and with Bitcoin rising. So could we go back to a phase like that again? Well, let's watch what happens if we get a bump here on the dollar. If we do get a breakout above the resistance here at 97.40, let's watch what happens to the S&P. And let's watch what happens to Bitcoin and gold. Is it possible they all start working upwards together again? Of course it's possible. Oh, Young Fengxi, you should absolutely be interested in Bitcoin right now. We're getting ready. We're getting ready to enter that bull market. It is the trade right now of the next 18 months to be involved in. And gold too, physical gold and silver. If you don't own them, look into having a portion of your portfolio in physical gold and silver. We are just kind of hanging out over here, maintaining the range. Let's see what else we could take a look at, or whether or not we want to call it a day. Kips is a big Palladium fan, rightfully so. More scarce than anything else, has seen huge moves. The Bank of England maintained their interest rate and increased QE by 100 billion, which was lower than expected. Pound US dollar sold off that news. Is that because of the dollar strength or the QE news? The pound actually saw definitely a movement because of the Bank of England's QE. Now, I thought that maybe because it came in less than expected. The market had been pricing in a little bit more. They came in a little bit under. I thought that might actually put a bid on their pound, but at the end of the day, the market spoke. And now that the Bank of England is also easing further, it put pressure on the pound. Yes, of course, the mild US dollar strength is also helping. but that also definitely had to do with that new information that entered, and that was the QE beginning being over in England. Yeah, gold has always been a big thing for Asians, and that's something that the West and the culture of the West is missing a lot. For sure, they understand the value of money, and that gold and silver are money over in Asia, much more so than they do over here in the West. That's true. Um, Here we go. S&P looking like it's trying to go ahead and put on a move. Again, that's why we follow the technicals, and really more importantly, that's why we don't get so like emotional about it, right? This was pretty textbook and easy for us to see what's going on. It's nice when you're able to have like that read on the market rather than being guessing. I've heard a lot of comments yesterday on the YouTube video. The analysts that I listen to are expecting us to sell off on the market. Well, okay. So we're looking about, when we would see downward pressure and the levels that would have to, occur. But I don't know what's going to happen. Supreme Court votes against Trump Unlimited Dreamers Obama program. I don't think that's going to have an effect too much on the markets over here. But maybe the S&P is rising, dollar coming off a little bit. Next 45 minutes or hour or so of trading could be pretty good over here. Let's see what type of moves we get. Boom, 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 boom. And Michael, there's times to be bearish. And there's times not only to be bearish, but there's times that we're going to see, a nice move. Like we saw just last week. Look at this move we came off, right over here from 31.77 and traded down 200 points to 29.47. We want to trade both sides, but we can't just be like, because everything doesn't make sense that the markets are going to sell off. That's generally not what happens. That's generally not what happens. All right, everyone. I think that this is a good place to call it a session. I really want to actually ask a question if you guys have a second. We used to basically live stream for generally another, I would say, half hour or 45 minutes from this point. We've been online together for about 1 hour. I know that I have my feel on the pulse of the market here. I know exactly what's going on and or what to look for after that hour with you all. But we used to spend a lot more time together, at least another 30 minutes to possibly an hour. We would go from 90 minutes to 2 hours. Which do you prefer? Which type of session do you prefer? Do you prefer our 1 hour sessions, without putting a time limit on it, what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks? Or did you prefer when we used to go for about 90 minutes or 2 hours every morning? Thanks, Marit. That's a nice thing to say. Thank you. So we got a lot of good comments. I mean, that's where I kind of go off. It depends on the market, but I have noticed that they've become shorter than normal. And then we're seeing, of course, a lot of comments about the longer, the better. Mixed reactions, actually. Some like it short and sweet, and then some like it longer. All right, so that's pretty flexible then. I'm able to get a really good indication of what you all see, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me know. I know because we got a big mixed bag over there, and there's a lot of people saying they prefer the longer type sessions, which I really like also. And then we have some people saying the shorter the better. So I mean, the compromise is there is a couple of things. First thing is even when we do longer sessions, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to do longer sessions either 2 or 3 times a week, depending. Either 2 or 3 times a week, we're going to have those 90-minute to 2-hour sessions. And then the other 2 or 3 days a week, they'll be closer to 1 hour sessions. But when we do the longer sessions, we're going to go fast in the beginning, doing our analysis across the board. Even on the longer sessions, we're going to be very methodical about taking a look at the market and going over all pairs, so that anyone who wants the shorter type session gets a full session in with us. And then they could kind of peace out, get on with whatever they got going on. And then we could spend, another half hour to an hour really going and doing our longer type sessions, taking a little bit longer look at things like that. So that's the best way to do it. That kind of covers everybody. Nobody likes it fast. Well, I think we get a lot of positive feedback when we're going through the markets and we're looking, at what's going on. Australian dollar, Swiss franc, right? Pretty clear to see the consolidation pattern. Look at that. Do you belong in a trade here right now? No. Why? Because we're coming to a very narrow range where we're getting ready to break out one way or the other. A big move is coming. Yeah, that sounds about perfect. I like that. So thanks for letting me just get a little bit of feedback from you all, because I'm interested always. Thanks. You guys are awesome. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness, saying something like that. Thanks for that beautiful, good heart of yours. And everyone, I was so interested to hear and understand your feedback on that. So it's good. Kind of still a pretty strong battle going over here. Could anyone else sense that it's possible we're going to get that breakout on the dollar and the S&P could go up with it? Roman. Woo-hoo! Absolute. There it is. This is the grand emoji play going on over here, Roman. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, TC. A couple of them like we did today. I like it. Thanks, Lemmy. I also appreciate all of you, And Lemmy, you asked earlier in the session, there's 100% our live streams are going to continue every day. Yes, I'm also going to give, personal training sessions to those involved in the CTM group. But and I called it a live stream because that's how we'll do it. It'll be a private live stream, for them. But exactly what we do here every day in and every day out will continue. Thank you very much, Sharzing. I do appreciate that very much. It's, I love doing it. It helps me a lot. But to hear that type of feedback is definitely appreciated. Thank you. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for that type of shout out over there. Giles, have a beautiful day as well, man. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you really know how much I enjoy the time together. You all are absolutely wonderful. I value the friendships being built in here. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. Or I'll see you all later this afternoon. We'll have both. We'll have both our afternoon video, and then we'll have some updates on TradingView later on. So I'll see you all later.